Hello and welcome back to Podcast with a K. I'm your host, Karla with a K. You're listening to WECS 90.1 FM, and I am joined here today by Daniel Lewis of Internet Tears. Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm in the studio right now. So,
working on new music.
It's a Monday. I'm making new music for the summertime.
We love to hear it. So tell me, what are we here to talk about today?
I guess everything about the band Internet Tears and stuff we got coming up. I mean, if you're checking this out, maybe this might be the first time you ever heard of us. We're pretty new, to the world. So
this is your big debut.
Pretty much, I mean, Internet Tears has been around actually since 2021, but it was really just me in my room, during that time of pandemic-esque type of thing where, I had the privilege of just being in my room every day and, had my cup of coffee and was able to write a whole record and write all these songs. And Internet Tears really was created for the sole reason of just creating this specific style of music of what we're making, which is more like indie pop, indie rock, electronic pop type of stuff. And I come from a background that was more progressive rock and metal.
Okay.
And I'm a singer, and I used to be like in a metal band, and I used to scream, and the more I as years went on with my music career, I've always been a singer, and I just kept going towards a lighter and lighter and lighter sound. So much to the point, though, that I didn't want to push it on any of the people that I was making music with. I don't want to turn around just because I'm a singer and a songwriter to say, hey, now I want this band to sound like this because I'm making this kind of music, or I want to,
Sure.
So Internet Tears really started as an individual thing, and it was really like my band, my art.
Yeah, your artist project, little creative outlet moment.
Yeah, and that's what it really was, just a full expression,
Mm-hmm.
I produced it, and it was really something where it's like I could show somebody a thing that was like, it was like a painting that I created,
Right.
And after a year or so, I ended up meeting my drummer through Facebook Marketplace. I'm a retro gamer. I love video games. I love nostalgic, old vintage stuff.
That's awesome.
I really like the Powerpuff Girls plushie in the back.
Thank you.
I'm just like that 90s kid,
Yeah.
So I was actually selling a PlayStation Portable, this retro thing at the time, and this dude ends up meeting me at the Goodwill that's across the street from my house. I have a thrift store at my house. It's next to my house. It's a bad idea for me, considering I have tube TVs and VHSs everywhere in my house. I ended up meeting him, and he's like, hey, man, by the way, I checked out, since we're friends on Facebook, I saw your song on Facebook, and I'm a drummer. And I'm thinking to myself, that's the hardest person to find.
Right.
That it's that's one of the hardest members to find, right? And then to find a member like that likes the music you're making or likes that style. And I'm from Connecticut.
Right.
And I live in Connecticut, New York City area. So it's very borderline, very close to New York and New York City specifically. Where are you from?
I'm from North Carolina, but I did go to school in Connecticut. So I went to Eastern up by Hartford.
Oh, okay. So Fairfield County, right?
Close. Willimantic. We were in Wyndham.
Oh, okay. So more north, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm by Stamford,
right. Yeah.
Pretty much at the tail end of Connecticut.
You're in the part of Connecticut that we would go for a day trip.
Oh, okay, because there's salvation, probably, right?
There's stuff to do, yeah.
Right. It's more rural where you are, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because all we really got is Yukon, so there's cows.
Oh, okay. But you have
we have Hartford and New Haven, within about an hour and a half. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Because we play from Connecticut, we usually go and play in New Haven. That's the city, or we've played in Stamford, which is a city. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is in Connecticut, there isn't a lot of bands that I know, or even musicians that are playing or are interested in like indie pop, electronic rock. It's more of like a psychedelic funk jam type
Oh,
of
yeah.
vibe in Connecticut. And the more you go into the city, like Brooklyn, I know some friends that are, to name a few, that are in that area, like Mark Dillon or Tom Gianardi. They're from Long Island in New York, but they're creating this pop indie scene there, which is more prevalent. And you know, it's kind of cool being one of the only bands that has this sound in Connecticut.
Right.
So you know, having Zach come, being a part. Zach is my drummer, who I met through all that stuff. Like I mentioned, it was really Zach and I for the first year, and we ended up finding, you know, like because I'm mainly the singer and the songwriter, but I'm mainly the singer of the band. You know,
Right.
so we had, you know, guitar players and bass players throughout the couple years of us being in a band. So it's been really solely Zach and I, and Zach works a lot on the live performance aspect, and you know, we work together as a team, you know, to really make Internet Tears. But I have a great team when it comes to my bandmates, and it's not a conventional band, you know.
Right.
It's like, I don't want to say it like this, but this is sort of the example. It's like we're kind of like a Panic at the Disco. I didn't want to be like, it's Daniel Lewis and Daniel Lewis music.
Sure.
I've always been in bands, and I like the idea of bands. And I feel like nowadays in pop culture, it's rappers and pop artists. And you know, we do have that sort of pop persona, but we also have a band persona. I think
There's
that,
definitely
you
a
know,
different attitude around having a band, because it's kind of a lead by example way in which the listeners also kind of feel that sense of community, rather than, oh, there's one dude doing one thing and these are his entourage.
yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of that, but the thing is, we have charismatic members like my bass player Esteban. Like, if you go see our show,
Mhm.
you can. It's not just like you're watching a band and the singer's the only thing that's entertaining. You
Mhm.
can watch the guitar player and he's doing his own thing, or the
Yeah.
bass player and he's like doing his own performance, and I'm doing my own
Yeah, those
performance.
shows
We're
are
all
great.
cohesive together, but that's what kind of like makes it fun and enjoyable for all the members, and that's what's like kind of our vibe when we have live performances as well.
Mhm.
It's more of like that group feel with the community type of thing.
Yeah, of course. I know that you have a new single out. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Tell us where you are in your band's journey and kind of what brought you to this single. What's it about?
Yeah, so our newest song is called "I Want You," and um, you know, I'm sitting in the nice lounge area of Black Bale Records. They're a great
Okay.
independent record label from Shelton, and we were fortunate enough to partner up with them and sign with them this year to have our two re-release singles that were revamped and remastered and better quality, and it's just like a great new like grand welcome to the world of Internet Tears, you know. But you know, we with the song "I Want You," um, that song honestly is it's a positive love song about just it's honestly, it doesn't have to necessarily be about somebody. I wrote it about somebody specifically. I was literally like picking this girl up from my car that was like, I was gonna ask to be my girlfriend. I was like, hey, wanna be my girlfriend? And then I played that song, and that's kind of like how I asked her out through
Adorable.
songs, through music.
That's a power move
But
right there.
the thing is, I think it's almost a celebration of anybody that you want in your life. It
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily have to be specifically somebody that you're into, you know? And I think that that's like really the message is like, I want you, in my life. I enjoy it, you know? And it's a positive thing. And I think it's something that sonically, when you hear it, you get that feeling. But if you also listen to the lyrics, it like it pieces together like as one, you
Of
know? So
course.
there's a bunch of, you know, like my drummer Zach says all the time, there's a bunch, everybody's talking about something about breakup or you're hurt me. There's a bunch of negativity, and it's good to just like have something positive and
Yeah.
something that's happy and more like up vibe, like keep those like positive vibes high, you know.
Right.
So that's what we were trying to do with this song.
Which is kind of ironic given that the band's name is Internet Tears, which now I'm super invested. Now I want to know exactly how that name came to be in the first place.
Yeah. So, if someone's really like into the band Internet Tears and they really deep dive and they listen to like the sounds, the vibes, the lyrics, a lot of like my inspiration comes from artists like the 1975
Mm-hmm.
and like Matty Healy, and that having this like almost like it's like very confessional, but like almost to a point where it's like you're just being extremely honest.
Sure.
And I feel like for me, I've written songs where I'm like very emotional, and I'm sitting down, and that's what kind of helps me get through my emotions. And there's been times where I've like been sad and wrote songs that sounded happy,
right?
And it psychologically got me out of it. Yeah. And I was like, this is a great song. Like it just like made me happier. And I think that a lot of our music, whether it be happy emotion or it's very I don't want to say emotional, but I'm a very emotional guy.
Sure.
I come off very
Ain't no shame in it.
No, I have no shame. Like I'm very sentimental. I'm very like comfortable in my feelings, as a straight man as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that nothing is wrong with that. I think that like I'd love to see a bunch of dudes come to my shows and like sing these songs.
Yeah.
Whether it be anybody of any sexual orientation. Just like I just feel like it's one of those things where I feel like Internet Tears music is very open for everybody,
mm-hmm.
and it's something that is emotional to the point where it's like it's kind of okay to be emotional.
Yeah.
And I listen to a lot of artists like that, and I kind of think like Internet Tears was in a list with a bunch of different names, and I happen to come across that Internet on the internet, and I was like, is that a band? Because it just sounds like something, whether it be a band name, an album art. If I see something in the wild, I'm writing it down.
Of course, as you should.
Thank you. And push comes to shove, it just kind of like sort of made sense. And honestly, like that's part of the reason why I wanted it to be a band and a name and just something that honestly looks cool on a shirt.
Yeah. The aesthetic is important.
Internet Tears with a logo. It just seems like Internet Tears and like the videos and music, we choose aesthetic over like anything. We really care about visuals. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's also a really, really smart thing for a new band to do because you want something that's going to be catchy. You want people to get the merch. You want people to want it because it looks cool. And if the music isn't an entry point, specifically like you were saying in Connecticut, where the kind of attitude is more towards like harder rock or funk, jazz, retro, like there's a space for indie pop that's kind of like sad 90s baby inspired, but that's kind of not where music is at right now. It's where it's potentially heading, and so it's a really cool way to kind of grab the eye, if not the ear first.
Well, yeah, I think it's a little more refreshing in where we reside in our hometown of Connecticut, pretty much. A lot of people that come out. I mean, we play with a lot of bands like pop punk bands, or like we're a little different, but I feel like that gives somebody that might discover us a little bit of fresh air because we're just we're our own thing.
Yeah.
And we're original bands, so yeah, that's just something, we're working on our new music, and we're kind of figuring out like where we want to go with things. And with how we're really structuring it, it's very much like indie pop, indie rock type of stuff.
Yeah. And I think that there's also something to be said for the fact that, like you said, it's kind of based on something that you kind of saw out in the wild, and that kind of resonated with you, because the same way that it resonated with you, that's, a clear example of how the band's name and the band's sound is going to continue to do that for other people. And especially like you mentioned, like being into like retro gaming, and I'm almost positive that's a Betty Boop shirt that you're
It
wearing,
is.
right? Yeah, and see, so like aesthetically, we're kind of like in that space right now where it's this like 90s kid generation that's feeling nostalgic for what like they had, but didn't grow up with, and for having kind of come into this space during a time like the pandemic where you had nothing except for time to just think about where you were in life and where you were going if we ever got out of that situation. It's more of like the raw thought rather than something that you had time to overthink, because you were able to actually dedicate the time into that, which I think is very apparent. And you even mentioned the 1975 and Panic, which are kind of like the music that 90s kids would have grown up with in the first place. So like you're kind of grabbing all of these little things that I think everyone will feel a sense of connection to, whether it's through like subconscious nostalgia or, like you said, for a breath of fresh air. Because there's even that in example with other mainstream bands. Like there's a band called Yellow Card that was famous for 90s kids from Ocean Avenue, which was a huge song, right? And then all of their songs, as being kind of like a pop punk emo band, kind of got a little bit darker and more like sad, like, oh man, where am I going in life? And one of their more recent songs that they have out to kind of include into their new sound is, I believe, called Childhood Eyes. And the entire song is like, am I the only one seeing the world through childhood eyes now? Like, why is everyone so upset all the time? And so you're kind of seeing that reflected in different genres across different spaces, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think a part of like my identity and with my taste and what I like contribute towards like internet tier specifically comes from a lot of like how I was brought up, because I, aside from like being that kid in the 90s that actually had the PlayStation 1 and
Right.
like had those things growing up, not just like being like, what was that? And like discovering it. Like I grew up in that way.
Yeah.
Like I just had the I was fortunate enough to like my dad was into that stuff, or like my dad's a professional DJ or was into like classic cinema. So when we even like think about music videos, like we have this music video called Over Me, which is in a laundromat that I shot and directed and stuff with the help of my good friend Kyle. I tried to make something that like because I know of like the research of things that I've liked that are more like older, timeless, like Martin Scorsese, like that kind of classic film type of stuff. Because I'm into like that like retro movies as well. Having all of that and like knowing exactly how certain things should look, that's why we like come off of like the aesthetic of like there's just certain things that we hone in on when it comes to showing our identity, and I feel that like where we are right now, like we even though we're pop, indie pop, if you listen to like our first stuff, there's elements of electronic like pop punk.
Yeah.
And there are some different sides to us that, like right now we're having a certain focus on maybe these certain songs, but like if you come to our live shows, for example, we sound like a hard rock band. It's not like a very indie soft thing, but we purposely do that because it's like we're very we feed off of energy when it comes to our music or when it comes to our live performance. It's all about the energy and the vibe and everything. And we thought that, you know what, instead of keeping things to a certain atmosphere live, why don't we do things that are more like rock bandy, more grittier, more like to people like I mean Yellow Card, for example, like they're when you see them live, they're playing, it's not like extremely toned down or everything's just like a synth,
so they're not in the studio, they're here to give a performance and giving that element and even bringing a new experience, even if it's playing a different arrangement of a song that everyone knows, that's gonna get the crowd like reinvested in you guys as a band rather than just like, oh yeah, I like this song, it's on my playlist.
That's exactly what we do. Exactly.
Yeah. And building that experience is cool. And it's also really cool to hear that like you have kind of grabbed these influences from everywhere, because that's what I always like to ask is whenever we're kind of diving into your stuff, what are we going to hear? Are we going to hear your vision for the future? Are we going to hear what you listened to in the past? Is the music that you make the music that you listen to? So that's kind of really cool that it's kind of come up in conversation naturally, because it shows that it's a more well-rounded sound rather than having a specific focus. Like you said, there's of course the stuff that you're pushing, the stuff that you're making, but there's also the stuff that you like doing, and that passion for your project is, I think, also something that the audience can feed off of, because you can tell when someone likes their job versus when it's just a job.
Right, exactly. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because it's weird. Sometimes I try to force myself to listen to certain types of genres, because I'm like, I'm a lot of all over the place. And then sometimes I'm like in one mode, and then I'm like, this is not going to help me write music.
Yeah.
Like I do need inspiration.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously everybody needs inspiration, but like I need to have something that like motivates me to want to do. I can't just sit down and say I want to write a song or this is the idea. Like I have to actually like see something, hear something to trigger me to say, wait, I need to go and I need to start writing something.
Right.
You know? Funny enough, do you know the band 4 Year Strong?
I do.
I love that band, right? That
Yes.
sounds nothing like Internet Tears. They're
Not at all.
heavy. I grew up with them. They taught me a lot, that band, when it comes to like the heavier side of music.
Mhm.
That was the first taste. And I still go back to that band, and I don't even make music like that.
Right.
But I'm still bumping that, and I'm still making totally different music. But it's just like there's so many different things. Like there's this band called Bill Murray. You ever heard of them?
Bill Murray is one of my favorites right now.
Same. And my drummers.
Yeah.
And we don't make music like that.
Yeah, and I mean, Bill Murray is a good example of kind of making music based off of whatever it is that you want, because Bill Murray has...
I would love to work with Johnny Frank, and I actually have once before. I was very fortunate enough, years and years ago.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and he comes from a harder rock background as well with Attack Attack, and now he's making a weird like electro pop / metalcore / pop punk / country hybrid with a little bit of saxophone thrown in.
It's its own subgenre of metal now.
Yeah,
he's always been that guy, and like he's come from Attack Attack, as you know,
right.
You know, but he's always been that guy to like display, like I could come up with an idea, like I could come up with something existing and make totally something new. He's like that kind of genius.
It's that unique sound, and it's kind of like what I heard with the couple of singles that we were shown. And I think we should probably take a little bit of a music break to at least listen to I Want You, just so that, you know, our listeners can have that as a little bit of a background for this conversation. It's kind of prevalent in that you're saying, you know, there's little things that you grab from here, and there, but you're turning it into your own sound, which is what someone like Bill Murray does.
Yeah.
Which is actually really cool. So
I love him.
Yeah, he's amazing. So let's take that music break. Let's listen to I Want You, and we'll come back and get back into this conversation, because we're learning a lot. On the topic of new music, you said you have some more stuff for us to look forward to in the future.
Yeah. So we actually came out with the 2 songs. What you just listened to was I Want You, which is our second release from Black Barrel Records. And we're coming out with a brand new song right at the summertime for you guys. And it's going to be The Summer Bop from Internet Tears. Ooh. It's summer themed.
Okay. I'm seeing the vision.
Yeah. So, you know, it's funny. It's not like we were like, oh, let's just write a summer song. It just so happened that out of all these songs, we picked this song that we really liked. And then it happened to be around the time that it was summertime. And then it happens to sound exactly like that vibe. And the song is called Feels Like Summer.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we're really excited for that. It's our first song that we're really like starting from scratch and really collaborating with the record label with. And we're really happy with how things are sounding. And being able to record at Black Barrel Studio has really transformed everything when it comes to the sound. And I think that if you like Death and His Friends and you like I Want You, it's the next one that's like right up there. It's not anything less than what we put out. And I'm really excited for it. And we're going to be coming out with a music video for that song.
Okay.
And yeah, it's something that, you know, it's another one of those feel good songs, You know, we do make sad songs, but we're on the high of it's warm out.
The
You're gonna
sun
be at the
exists
beach.
again.
You know, it's the whole world. You just let's just enjoy life.
Right.
You
Of
know,
course.
it
Of
feels like
course.
summer. You know, and it's that thing. It's like it's all the good things about of life that like it feels like summer. It feels like that good feeling. You know those
Yeah.
nights where it's just like hot as hell and it's not windy and you're outside and you're not really wearing anything besides like a t-shirt
Right.
and shorts. It's nice. Like that's like that feeling, you know.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it's you know that has that like indie pop vibe, and we're really excited for it. Um, and yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it, but like there are some like vibes of like, do you know that I didn't like intentionally do this, but like the movie 50 Days of Summer
Yeah.
with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, right?
Right.
I feel like if you put that song to that to like the movie,
Yeah.
it would actually go together too. Like that's like the vibe.
Okay. Yeah. I'm seeing it. It's
Yeah.
like I can hear the
So,
song
so
before it
without
even
hearing
comes
it,
out.
now you guys can like actualize it in your brains.
I really like these connections that you make to like the influence for it. And even like when you were talking about the other music video that you have and going through with aesthetic. Now I kind of want to know, whenever you're coming up with a music video or a concept, apart from having the musical influence, do you have that aesthetic influence as well? Like do you picture who would listen to this song and where? Like if I'm listening to the song, should I be picturing neon lights or a sunset at the beach? Is that something that goes through your head as well with having this focus on aesthetic as well as sound?
Yeah, I think that's something that I love to do when it comes to like being a part of like the visuals of our band. That's like something that I'm very like very specific about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, since I direct my music videos, everything's like literally in my mind with how I imagine everything, and it's insane when it comes down to like the color grade, like the colors of the video
Right.
or where it's going to be. And I always think of things like everything is when it comes to the song, I really treat every video and every song as its own piece, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't consider like everything to be set in like one era. Like for example, one of our music videos takes place in 1980.
Sure.
That's the era. Coming down to like the environment we're in, the clothes, the way it's shot, the camera, like
Mm-hmm.
everything, you know. And we do like we're very specific with how we choose each project and each video, and it kind of gives like somebody that's never seen our band maybe like it's I can like we always have it be like a first impression,
Right.
you know.
Of course.
So we always try to display all of these things in an impressionable way where they see it and they're like, okay, like for example, the video that I'm talking about that I directed over me, it has that nostalgic, timeless type of film look to it, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and I've had ideas of maybe doing something even like the '70s, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
like lava lamps, like in grandma's basement type of like
Teal
you know
and
like that
orange four
'70s
by
kind of
three.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of ideas that like it's more about the universe
Mm-hmm.
that the music video is in versus what's happening in the music video. Because
Sure.
you could do 1,000 things in the music video, but how does it look and what's the universe that it's in, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I think that that's what we really focus on every single time we approach a song with a visual, you
Of
know?
course. Yeah, and that's really cool to kind of envision, because whenever you come up with an album of songs, an EP, now it's going to kind of tell that story. Even if it's an anthology, like it's still going to kind of have its own little narrative to follow through the songs. It's not just, I made something, have it.
Right. Or it kind of has like an era in a
Mhm.
way, you
Yeah.
know?
So, with that in mind, and especially these talks about the cinematic influence, do you have a dream project for any of your music right now? Because obviously, this is kind of kicking the dust up, you're getting the ball rolling. Where do you
Like
see
anything specifically, like any kind of
anything?
dream project with Internet Tears?
Yes.
So I mean, I would say my drummer Zach, if he was here, we would both say the same thing, and we said it. We were just talking about it like a couple minutes ago, but if I still had his number, I'd hit up Johnny Frank right now.
Right.
And be like, which is the singer and songwriter.
Of Bill
You
Murray.
know, his band is kind of like an Internet Tears. It's really him. He's creating everything. He's a great producer. I think that, I'm not afraid because I've created everything. Having Black Barrel collaborate with the music, I think that, having somebody so creative to take an idea and to understand it very well, and to say, I understand this and I can bring it to the next level. There's certain producers that I feel like that could do that, but like as a dream, working with Johnny Frank on a couple songs would be definitely for me and some of my bandmates. That's definitely something that we would love. Also, opening and performing with Neon Trees.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't mention it once in this interview, but Tyler Glenn, he's a huge influence, one of my favorite singers, and I'm fortunate enough to know him and talk with him, and
that's awesome.
And visit him and stuff I'm really, really fortunate to be able to have that type of relationship with somebody that I really look up to. But that would be something. Those two things.
Yeah.
Neon Trees and Bill Murray.
I mean, listen, never say never. There's nothing stopping me from putting in the caption, "At Bill Murray, what you doing?"
He might recognize you. I remember you from like 10 years ago.
There you go, exactly. Maybe this is how we make those moves. And of course, Neon Trees, phenomenal performers. I got to see them at a festival, Cheerwine Festival here in North Carolina. And I would say a couple of years ago now, actually. But I would say that that's kind of thinking about it now, a influence that makes sense, because with their music videos, they kind of also go with that, like, based in an era feel. The music video for Everybody Talks, for example, where it's like at the drive-in and it's like that. And then as performers, the way that they sing their songs, like everyone knows their songs off the radio, but the way that they perform gives that kind of like new twist where it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And then, you can kind of see the crowd react because now everyone's like leaning in, they want more.
Yeah. I mean, like, I love charismatic vocalists, and I feel like Neon Trees, specifically them, I mean, they're a little older of a band. They're from the 2010s. They're like, I see them live, and they're like, I feel like they're one of the really, really true pop rock bands.
Oh, yeah. And the sound is timeless.
You're really pop rock. Like, you're a real band. I love seeing that.
For sure. I did just see a 15-minute warning pop up, which means it's time to kind of shift gears, unless you have anything else that you wanted to say about the music videos, potential upcoming performances, or anything else related to Internet Tears. Now's your chance.
I mean, if you like what you heard on the podcast, check us out on Instagram. We're on Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff, and get ready for the summertime. Feels like summer. That's going to be the biggest hit from us coming for this year, for sure. So we're really excited for you guys to just check it out, to just see if you like it or not.
So definitely stay tuned for that. You'll find all of those links in the description down below on the side, wherever it is that you find it on whatever it is that you're watching this on or listening to on. And so now I kind of want to know about what goes on behind the scenes. When you're not doing music, what is it that you do? What keeps you going apart from this passion project that is Internet Tears?
So right now, honestly, I'm a little like slightly obsessed with Fallout, the game and the TV show and all that stuff. Like I mentioned, I'm a retro gamer, and I don't know. For me, when I'm in this moment, like I'm working on a new song right now, but it's like one song, right? Mm-hmm. And I keep going back to this one thing, and then I have all these things that are like kind of like half done, all this stuff, right? I feel like it's like almost like a book writer. Like you have to have something in you to want to sit down, and then something comes out, Right. Sometimes I sit down and I start something, and then it's like, it's like not like magic. That's like for lack of magic, you know. This
Yeah.
it's just something in me. It's just like natural. It just keeps coming out. I keep recording the guitar, the drums, everything, the instrumental, even the singing. Sometimes it's just like blurts out everything.
Sure.
But in this moment, I feel like I'm going through a lot of transitional things in my life when it comes to like, and maybe somebody listening to this podcast might feel a similar way with how they are. Like, I just started a new career, new job, new relationship. Everything is very new, and it's kind of consuming me a lot, you know. And a part of me, and I think a part of being an artist, is kind of, you need to live life too, and you need to like maybe F up in life and have all these things happen to you.
Sure.
And then you sit back down and say, okay, now all these things are happening, and in my brain and in my soul, I can maybe like have something to like express sonically, you know?
Yeah,
So I feel like right now I'm going through those things. So I have like the next 10 songs to talk about, you know? But, you know, so much with the band. I mean, like, even though we've been a couple months with Black Barrel, you know, we're still at the beginning, you know? I could even assume, even when a year passes with Black Barrel, it'll still be the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't realize when you're a band and then you start when you're signed, it's you're at the beginning all over again.
Yeah, it's a new
Phase
start.
1 of bands, you're like, I mean, sometimes, unless like you're already big and like you're
Sure.
everything's DIY. Otherwise, it's like if you're a new band and nobody really knows about you, start from the beginning and you work your way back up. And I feel that, you know, with Death and His Friends, and I Want You, with our releases that we've come out with Back Barrel, it's just like the beginning all over again. And we're really we have such a great team. James from Black Barrel, Zach and Erica as well, shout out. You know, everybody like has been all working together, and you know, I just want to mention, like, you know, I really appreciate having them and having like the to be fortunate enough to like be a part of this. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you don't need to be in a record label, you don't need to do this, do it yourself, things like that. But like, even with music, sometimes you do need the help. You know, sometimes you need to have that team or like environment, you know. And this is the first time that Internet Tears ever had that type of team collaboration, because we've done everything ourselves, booking, everything, you know.
Sure.
And we're so happy with how everything's gone. And I feel like with working with them, and James and Zach are in the band called The Inside Out, which is another our band on the label, touring with them, doing things like not just music related, made doing music related things easier, you know?
Yeah, because then music gets to kind of be that catharsis.
Yeah, they were thanking me today, being like, thank you for being so honest. And I'm like, yo, I think it's because we like hung out. We're like just closer as people, that like it just makes things like I don't have to feel shy. You know, they don't have to. It's just like, this is like, let's just get to work. Let's make something great. And I feel like with my honesty, like we're also all on the same page. And I think it's just a beautiful thing to be able to do that. And I think the new songs, and the new song that we're coming out with in June, Feels Like Summer, like everything's going to show, versus our old stuff where it was just us, you know?
Of course. And again, I just want to say congratulations on this new beginning. It seems like you have a lot of stuff coming up, and you have kind of that energy to keep pushing through it. I think it's also really inspiring how you're phrasing it, the same way kind of that this came to you during the pandemic, right? And the way that you're saying that like all of these life experiences, good and bad, plus having kind of like a side project or a side hobby, like all of it kind of comes together to make the music. It really just goes to show that like there's good and bad in your life, and the best you can do is make the best out of that. And for you, that seems to be this.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I wish everybody in the world had something that if they like felt some kind of emotion, whether it be negative or something they just get off their chest, that they could be able to do something to do. And I think that that's a gift that people have. that certain people have, and I wish that everybody has, because like making music and making music for internet tears has been something that's very therapeutic for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I've experienced outside of internet tears and other bands that I've like made music with is when I'm performing and singing my lyrics that I felt that way about, with other people singing it back and them having that kind of feeling that I had writing it, and they understand it to that kind of level. I think that's the reason why I even do music, period. Have that connection with people. And
Right.
I've been fortunate enough at a small scale in like New York City, for example. I'm like, I'm in a room with people that like they heard the lyrics, they heard the song, but they like feel something, and they came here to feel it with the band.
Yeah.
And that's something that's like amazing and beautiful in
Yeah, that's
my.
beautiful.
It is. I love it. I mean, I do that for other artists, but like to be able to be an artist to share that with people
Right.
is something that's part of the reason like I'll probably never stop performing and doing it.
You get that really cool, unique experience of seeing it from both sides.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So again, congratulations. Do you have any final closing remarks, statements, questions, concerns, shout outs? Anything else you'd like to say?
Thanks so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you for like letting me say whatever the heck I wanted to say. Sometimes I have like an ADHD episode where I keep splurging, but you like the conversation is like I keep saying stuff and you really like get it. So I really appreciate that you understand.
Of course.
What we're trying to do and all the vibes and everything. So thank you.
It's the least we can do, and the most that we love to do, rather.
And I'm Daniel Lewis, and you can check out. We have a couple music videos, and there's a lot of things that like bring you into the universe of internet tears, all on YouTube and Instagram and Spotify and TikTok. So check all that out.
All right. So like I said, we'll have those links in the description box, wherever it is located on your screen. All right. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. Once again, you've been listening to WECS 90.1 FM. Stay tuned. We will most definitely be spinning the aforementioned tracks and the new one from Internet Tears. So keep an ear out for that. And if you catch us on air, you let us know. You can at us at WECS FM or the podcast at podcast XK or podcast with a K, depending on which social media platform you prefer, anywhere. And of course, Internet Tears. What is y'all's usernames on
it's
everything?
at internet.tears.
Perfect. Yeah. Nice and simple. So in the spirit of new beginnings and throwing it back to the beginning, we're going to sign off with Death and His Friends, which, as we mentioned, is the other single. So anything you'd like to say about that one before we sign off, or should we just listen to it and let the music do the talking?
I mean, hey, honestly, Death and His Friends, it's a great introduction to the world of internet tears. So if this is the first taste of it, it's something that we recommend you guys check out. So check that out, Death and His Friends.
All right. So without further ado, here is that. And I think we're good.